So if we think about why the apple falls in a fairly rigorous way, we see that we have two fundamental reasons, and they're both true. But I gave you a constraint, and the constraint is you have to choose one. It's like walking into this room and saying, okay, there are many walls, but I only have one flashlight, and I have to point my flashlight to one or the other. And say, well, which one are we going to choose? And why? Well, you can't just say, I'm going to choose to the true one, because both are true. So that doesn't make enough of a distinction. So I'm going to distinguish two types of variables. In everything that happened has two types of causes. I'm going to call them out of control and in control variables. So gravity is an out of control variable. Letting go is an in control variable. Now, why does this make a difference? Because depending on which way I go, the world is going to look dramatically different to me. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a meeting when someone arrives late? Yes. Okay, so if you ask the person, why are you late? What's the typical answer people say? See? This is a new version of PowerPoint. It reads your mind. So, traffic. Is this in control or out of control? Out of control. Now, why is it so sweet to give traffic as an explanation? I mean, because it's so common. Everybody loves traffic. There's something good about traffic. What's so good about traffic? Exactly. It gets you off the hook. Because since it's out of control, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. It was traffic. It's not my fault. So that's the good part. What's the problem of traffic? If you think like a computer and you say, the reason why I'm late all the time is because there's traffic, when would you ever not be late? What needs to happen for you not to be late? To have a situation of no traffic. Can you control that? No, that's the whole point. So the price of innocence is impotence. That's the price. You want to be innocent, you have to give up your power. Every time you explain something as, oh, they couldn't do anything because it's not me. Now, please, this is very important. You have to understand, traffic is true. It's like gravity. This is not a lie. I mean, sometimes people lie. There's no traffic and they still say traffic. That's a different problem. But I'm talking about a situation where without traffic, you would have been on time. But there's traffic, you're late. You can choose to explain the situation truthfully by pointing your limited attention to traffic, pointing your flashlight to traffic, and that gives you a true answer. The problem of that true answer is that it's totally disempowering. And that's what I call the philosophy of the victim. Everything that happens, I'm a victim of circumstances. Something else out of control made this happen. And some people live their whole life. It's like, well, whatever happens, it wasn't my fault. And they're right. It's true. It's not your fault. You're innocent. But when you look at the part of the world that is not controllable, that is not even influenceable by you, but there's another reason that you're late. It's not just traffic. What's the other way to tell the story? Why are you late? Because you didn't leave early enough given traffic. So this is not being Superman. It's not saying, I can do anything. But it's saying, well, I did not leave early enough given the situation that I was going to encounter. And this is the difference between the victim of the story and the alternative, the story of the victim and the alternative, which is just like innocence gives you powerlessness. The price of power is to say, I'm responsible. But responsible understood as I am able to respond to circumstances, always. But that is the fundamental nature of a human being. I mean, what's the difference between a person and a thing, like a rock? Well, the rock doesn't have any capacity to respond. The rock just does what rocks do. In a way, you could even say that an animal doesn't have a capacity to respond in a way that's non-programmed. It's just instinct or training. But what gives a human being its nature as such is the ability to think, to perceive the world, to make plans, and to respond to the situations that we encounter in the pursuit of goals or objectives that matter to us. So the essence of humanity is the power to make choices in the face of circumstances. And that's what I call the philosophy of the player. In Spanish, I say protagonista. So instead of being a victim, to say, I'm a player. I'm not a spectator. I'm in the field, and I'm going to do something. And that's the essence of responsibility, that I'm going to pursue my life, choosing to focus my attention on the part of the world that I can influence, as opposed to the part of the world that just says, you're innocent, don't worry about it. So the fundamental equation is that any result, anything that happens in your life, I mean anything. Let's say you're upset because your mother-in-law yells at you. And you say, okay, so why are you upset? Well, because of her. I mean, she makes my life miserable. Well, that's half of the story. I mean, she does whatever she does, and you respond by being upset. But it's your response combined with her behavior that creates the upset. So anything, any result that you get in your life, particular results you don't like, you can assess them as the combination of the external environment, the things that are out of your control, and things that you could do in response to them. Unfortunately, every baby, when they are little, just in the crib, very quickly in life, you get the famous, I call it the Faustian deal. Dr. Faustus is the story and the opera and the play by Goethe, where the devil comes to Faustus and gives him a wonderful deal. So the Faustian deal that we get is, look, the devil comes and says, look, have I got a deal for you? You just sign here. And if you sign here, I promise that no matter what happens in your life, it will never be your fault. You can do anything, and it will never be your fault. It's like, whoa, that's a great deal. Now, I recommend you read the small print, because what the small print says is that in order to not make it your fault, you have to say that everything you do is the devil's fault. And that means you're selling your soul to the devil. Because what you're saying is, I don't make choices. The devil made me do it. It's not my fault, but then you lose your soul. And that Faustian deal is the instantiation of anything you blame is what you empower. So when you blame the devil, it's the devil made me do it, or instincts made me do it, or the economic situation made me do it, then you're saying, I'm just an apple falling, I don't have any choice. I'm just following the program that somebody put in my mind or the dictates of the culture. That's the essence of the transformation in the consciousness of people that are working as machines to create a society or an association of true human beings. Now, how do we know that the kids get this deal? Because very quickly in life, they started speaking like this. When my kids were small, they would just say, Daddy, come with a little car. It broke. Now, notice the sophistication of the use of language. Okay? It broke. Like it committed suicide. It broke itself. We have a whole bunch of suicidal toys at home. It broke. No subject, but it's a self-referential thing. And my question is, and where were you when it broke? No, I wasn't there. It was just there. I found it broken. It got broken. It spilled. The milk spilled. Where was your elbow when the milk spilled? No, nothing. I wasn't around.